Welcome to the Orange Flag Podcast. Someone tell Kevin Estra he doesn't do Formula One. Sorry, Kevin. I'm Aries.
I'm Austin.
I'm Nicole. Yes, sorry, Kevin. I did, in fact, say in pre-recording notes that we were not going to dunk on you this episode, but then I changed my mind, and we, in fact, are dunking on you. Sorry.
Oopsie.
I am wearing the merch, though, so. I was in Detroit this week for the joint IMSA IndyCar race, so doing another race recap because, yes, I did go to races on back-to-back weekends. Do not recommend. That was a lot of travel. I did fly to Detroit, which was a lot better than, driving to Indianapolis. But yes. So I guess to start with, I got some pretty cool hats. You may have seen them online. Felipe Nasser and Matthew Jaminet hats. Got those from the team, which was really awesome. Guess they realized I liked the team. I did also tell everybody at PPM that we kind of have a PPM podcast. So I think that might have helped with getting the hats. But when I went to the autograph session, Felipe Nasser was like, "Oh, you have one of my special hats." And I was like, "Yeah, I got it yesterday. It's pretty cool." And he just thought it was cool that I had not just a normal hat to get signed. I had one of those hats. Kevin, I would like one of those kind of hats of yours, like one that says Estra and 6 on it, please. Thank you. And then I have a lot of podcast props, so I'm going to be kind of leaning away. Dana made the Tandy Slam shirt and got that signed by Nick. I also got it signed by Earl Bamber. Forgot to get it signed by Nasser because we were busy talking about his hat. But Tandy was very excited that someone had made merch about him, which, how are people not out here making Tandy Slam merch? Come on, guys. Step up your fan merch game.
Get on our level.
Yes, but he was very excited about his Tandy Slam shirt. So, also, Dana made buttons again for all the shirts that were made for this race. So Nick got a button, which he really liked. Nick was sitting right next to Jam at the autograph session. So Jam leaned over and was like, "You have a shirt now too." Because apparently Matthew Jaminet very much knows who I am, because when I walked up I hadn't even pulled the new shirt out yet, and he was like, "Oh, is that the new shirt?" Yes it is. CamJam, no Kevin. And yeah, so apparently the 6 for the normal not Daytona Sebring Petite races has a WhatsApp chat called CamJam No Kevin, which Matthew Jaminet told me, which I just thought was hilarious. That either they stole our name because we had been advertising the CamJam No Kevin thing for a minute, or that we both independently came up with CamJam No Kevin as the way to signify them.
I need to know the order of things.
Yes, I did
was
not
it us
ask.
first or them first?
I do not know. You may recall from Daytona that we, in fact, gave Matt Campbell a bunch of crap for not being able to sign a shirt normally and needed the shirt specially held up for him to sign. So he didn't need any assistance signing a shirt at Detroit. So perhaps he has, practiced
he's learning
shirt signing. Yes.
Or he heard us roast him about it, and
or that. Or
didn't want
he
to be
heard us
roasted again.
roast him. Yeah. So that was good. Good job redeeming yourself. They also really liked their buttons. Jam was like, another button, which makes me think that, like, he actually kept his first button, and it is somewhere, like, in an office or at his house or something, which, like, okay. Not how I figured they would just throw those buttons out, but
Oh yes, yeah.
like, cool, awesome. Yeah, I was very excited about the second button. And Matt was actually very interested. So the CamJam No Kevin logo has a baguette that's like invisible over here. And Matt was very amused by the like missing baguette, which is in fact Kevin.
They're wondering where their child went.
This episode is just Nicole talks about Kevin Estra.
Yeah.
That is the whole episode.
Yeah,
They're wondering what happened to their child, you know?
Yes,
They're
I
there is
worried.
no drinking game this week because the whole episode is just
I mean, it's all kind of in the notes, like,
Yeah.
sort of.
pretty
It
much.
says CamJam No Kevin shirt, which
Yeah.
says Kevin, which means I can talk about Kevin.
There we go.
I honestly, I feel bad for the people that were behind me and, like, me, Morgan, Dana, the group of us in the autograph line, but, like, specifically me, because I was having whole conversations with multiple drivers in this line, and yeah, like, autograph sessions is supposed to be kind of quick. Like, you go through, you pick up their cards, you say good luck. Meanwhile, I get up to the AO station, which, like, was probably the reason most of the people that were in this line were in this line, right?
Yeah,
to get,
yeah.
like, Roxy and Rexy stuff signed. Lauren Heinrich and I had a whole conversation about all the races that I've been to this year. Because, you know, the guy who's on a different continent every weekend is concerned about my travel schedule. Because
very logical, you know?
he was like, so did you fly? No, first he started off with, where are you from? Texas. Texas, Lauren, I'm from Texas. And he was like, oh, that's far. Did you fly? And yes, I did. However, I was at the Indy 500 last week and I drove. And then he was like, oh, so did you, like, stay? Because that's, like, near here. Did you stay there? I'm like, no, I drove to Indiana, back home from Indiana, and then flew here. And he seemed extremely concerned by the fact that I was traveling quite so much for races.
As if this isn't the guy that did Daytona, then did Bathurst. Like,
yeah.
Lauren,
But
you can't judge.
But, I mean, so what was pointed out to me when I was telling someone this story was, that's his traveling for work.
True.
I'm just traveling to go see him work.
That's a lovely way of putting it.
But, yeah, it was a little strange getting travel shamed by, like, one of the guys that were like, yes, he is superhuman, he is a robot with how much travel he does and how many different series he's in. Like, he's already somewhere else.
Yes.
I don't remember where he posted on Instagram today that he is. I think he's back in Europe. Like, and the weekend before last, he was in Asia doing some Asian series. Like, Lauren, you can't criticize my travel. And then, so Earl Bamber, I had him sign the Tandy Slam shirt, and obviously he was part of two of Tandy's 24-hour wins, Le Mans Spa, and I was like, yeah, Earl, you can sign near, like, whichever one of the two Tandys you want to sign. He's like, yeah, I was part of two of them. Like, he was very proud of that. He did, in fact, sign on the thing with a number 19, which was his car number for Le Mans. So I think I would have been shocked if he hadn't signed, like, for Le Mans.
It's the logical, like, choice to make. Like,
Yes.
it makes way more sense to sign your Le Mans win.
Yes. I didn't expect him to sign with a number at all, but
Yeah.
he really wanted to be like Le Mans.
He just really wanted to make sure everyone remembered.
Everyone Earl,
Yeah.
everyone remembers. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
He just wanted to make sure.
But Earl recognized Morgan in the line because she had gotten a picture with him, like, very shortly. But so it was basically like open paddock in the morning. It was open paddock the whole time, but we were in the open paddock in the morning, right before practice. And then right after practice was the autograph session. So, like, Earl definitely recognized Morgan, which was cool. Because I think she was probably one of the only people that got a picture with him in the morning. Because I didn't see anybody else around their garage. And then in the second line, so we go through that line and we are at the Vassar Sullivan table, and they recognized Dana for the fact that she had on, like, the Vassar shirt and had made the tomahawk bracelet at Daytona.
The divorce that happened at Detroit.
But yes, they recognized her. And then we were talking about just Daytona in general and how we drive to races and camp, and Morgan was like, we were talking about how we were going to be going to Petite as well. And Morgan was like, oh, I think I can only do 2 days at Petite because, like, that hotel was expensive and far away. And I was like, oh, don't worry, Morgan, you can live in my car. And Colin Brown was so concerned immediately. He was like, live in your car? No, Colin, we're talking about camping at Petite. And he's like, oh yeah, you do have to camp at Petite.
Yes, you do.
Like, we had a whole conversation about my car, and he was like, you at least have, like, a big car, right? And I'm like, well, I have a Subaru Outback, but it's pretty okay for camping. And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, no, it can fit 2 people in it. Like, I promise, I camp in this car all the time. And he's like, okay.
Which, like, this checks out so much. Because, like, Colin is such a dad, but, like, so definitely, like, the dad friend of the friend group. And, like, the dad of that lineup. Like, he just gives dad vibes that I'm not surprised that he was, like, worried about your safety.
Yes. And then... so Ranger was sitting, like, the next little section over, obviously, like, separate car. He was looking at us like, what is wrong with these people? So Ranger, if you happen to be listening, I don't know why you would be, and are concerned about me and Morgan, we are fine. Like, we both have houses we live in. Obviously, I'm not podcasting from a car.
Are you sure?
Yes. And it is essential, in fact, to camp at Petite. Like,
yeah.
There is in the middle of nowhere. You have all been there before. You know this.
Don't do what I did last Petite, because I came last minute evacuating from a hurricane and stayed in Atlanta and drove an hour there and then an hour back every day of Petite.
That's what Morgan did too, which, like, that's why we're camping this year.
It was not fun, but when you book your ticket, like, you buy your ticket for the race the day before, there's not camping left.
Right. And we didn't know each other yet for me to be like, you guys can camp with me now. Like, yes.
Yeah.
But Colin, if you would like to confirm that we in fact have a campsite, I don't know, I'll let you know on Twitter where our campsite is at Petite or something.
I think we had
and you can come visit.
we jokingly were going to take photos of us camping in our cars and post them
Yes.
and tag Colin in them to be like, we are okay.
We, in fact, are camping. We are fine.
Yes.
And like I said, there was an open paddock, for the race. Like, Saturday and Sunday were open paddock if you had a grandstand ticket. It's not like most IMSA races, it's just full, like, you buy a ticket, you get paddock access. Because it's IndyCar as well, and IndyCar does charge, there was, like, if you had a grandstand ticket, you got paddock access on Saturday and Sunday. Friday was restricted, but, I don't know where it is. Where's my little thingy? Well, I had a podcast prop, but I don't know what I did with it. I won a pit and paddock credential, so I was chilling in the, like, pit and paddock all 3 days. So that was really cool. Helped with being able to meet drivers and everything. But I'd say the craziest bit of access was completely public, and the race actually screwed this up big time. The grid walk. Like, if you've ever done an IMSA grid walk, like, you're kind of like behind barriers and you can see the cars, but you're like 2-3 feet away from the car at the closest.
Yeah.
Detroit screwed it up so that, like, if you've seen the pictures on Twitter, Instagram, the internet, they've got the 2 lines of cars like that, and normally you walk around the outside. They had the middle open, so you could go in between the cars and right up to the car.
Yeah, no.
So people were like, I was hanging out by the 6 because of course I was.
Shocker.
And like, people were coming up and touching the car, reaching into the cockpit. Matt Campbell's helmet was on the seat. People were like touching his helmet, and I like turned to somebody. I'm like, "What are you doing?" Which resulted in me kind of ending up being a little bit of a guard for the car for a second while they were putting up. They went and got their barriers and put barriers up around the car so that people would stop doing that. But I was like, straight up, like, standing in front of the car talking to one of the crew members from the car that I had met earlier in the weekend, like, kind of helping almost body block the car. Like, very, very surreal experience to be bodyguarding the car you support.
Yes, but also just, like, common sense. Like, don't touch things.
So I don't know if that's worse, or slight sidebar into IndyCar. If what happened when I was in Kyffin Simpson's pit was worse. So they had all the tires stacked up pre-race, and I'm just standing there chatting with Dana, and somebody comes up and is like putting their hands all over their sticker green tires, putting their hands all over them, pulling off the little thingies that, the little things that stick out of sticker tires. Like, I'm sorry, but that can impact the, like, wear and use of the tire. So I turned to those people and I'm like, I had on that sweatshirt I wore last week, the, like, full-on Journey rewards, like, I looked like Kiffin's pit crew. I turned to this person and I was like, "What are you doing?" And they were like, "Sorry." Like, stop.
Like,
common sense, people. Like,
common sense, people.
Oh,
like,
my God.
Common sense was thrown away. Was thrown in the water somewhere next to Belle Isle. Because,
like,
seriously,
what goes through your head to, like, think that's okay? Like, we make the joke about how Scott at Petite was, like, touching the tires and then looked at
it's
his
car.
And we
is the
make the
driver.
joke because it's his car, and like that's okay for Scott to do, not okay for you to do.
Right. If Scott wants to touch the tire of the car he is going to be driving,
He could do that.
you do not get to touch cars.
No.
Fan attending the race. Like,
absolutely not.
Let's be serious. And it's just frustrating. Back to IMSA. After the race, I
was just gonna say, I love how you alluded to this in your tweets, like, oh yes, I'm gonna be supporting Penske and Ganassi this weekend at the same time somehow, and yet you almost were an unofficial team member because you were a guard for the 6, and then you were standing in Kiffin's pit, telling people
a guard
to
for Kiffin's tires.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is perfect.
Yeah, the weekend was interesting. Supporting Ganassi and Penske in 2 different series. I still claim that I'm actually supporting Porsche by supporting PPM, but
no, some of your tweets did say you were a Ganassi Penske fan.
yes,
so.
because it's for the bit, which,
I'm
as
just
we
saying.
know, for the bit results in things.
Yeah, so
Like
be careful
doing a
there.
podcast in full Kevin Estra merch.
Yeah, so be careful there.
I mean, so it does say, like, Porsche Penske. See, like, Penske right there.
Yes, I can read. I would like to point out, I
wasn't saying it to you,
read.
I was saying it to the viewers. But yes, no, the having on, so like at one point I had on the Kyffin sweatshirt, the Journey Rewards sweatshirt, and the Jam hat. And then like earlier in the weekend I had on the PPM shirt, like just the one you can buy online, and the CGR hat.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sorry, but I support the people I support in IMSA, and then I support the people I support in IndyCar, and I can't help that they're not, like, the same people. Now, anybody that was in grandstand number 9 for the race
Oh dear.
can in fact tell you what occurs when my favorite driver, who drives not for Penske,
which ironically is not the driver whose gear you're completely decked out in right now.
Kyffin wasn't there, first off.
I'm just saying.
Yes, but Renger pulled off a hell of a pass, and I may have been very exuberant in my cheering for Renger pulling off said pass. Oz, imagine Petit last year, but then, like, multiply that excitement by, like, 10. And I was sitting in a stand, not walking through a forest.
These poor people in this grandstand.
Everybody laughed at me. Like, not even everybody laughed at me. Because I don't know that anybody else was there, like, actually caring about the IMSA race. And I had lots of feelings about the IMSA race.
I feel like I can also see why they would laugh at you, because you're very clearly wearing PPM merch and you're cheering for an MSR Acura.
I will say I forgot my MSR shirt that I was going to bring specifically so that I could get, like, everybody to sign it, because, like, other than Ota, everybody from the Daytona cars was there. So
we've got Petit.
Yes, but like it would have been just easy to get it signed here, but forgot the shirt at home, so didn't have. I was going to be wearing the CamJam No Kevin shirt anyways.
Oh, to be a bird flying near grandstand number 9.
Yeah. But after the race, I went back into the paddock and was just kind of looking around the scrutineering area. And I did, in fact, notice that Jonathan Diuguid was over there. And he was, like, talking with a bunch of other people. And I was like, I'll just wait. And then I was like, I'll just wait some more. And then I was like, I'm in fact hungry. Hey, JD, can I get a selfie? And he was like, he literally went like 1 second, finished up his conversation, and came over and was like, people don't really ask me for selfies. I'm like, no, but you gotta understand.
Yeah.
Like,
I would like to point out, you also, before that, like when you got there and saw JD was there, you sent me a photo to
I did send you a photo because you said we were the JD fan club.
We are the JD fan club.
We are, in fact. But after I got the selfie, I was telling him about how I have a podcast that I'm on that is kind of sort of a Porsche Penske Motorsport podcast, and him being, the managing director of said organization,
Yes.
could I interview him? Which I did.
So my name is Jonathan Diuguid. We just finished the race here in Detroit. It was a good fight and a good battle all day long. The cars were fighting hard on track, and the 7 car had really good strategy and was able to get out in front there. We just couldn't hold on at the end with the tires dropping off a little bit, and made a little contact with some other people. But P3 and P4 for both cars, and we finished ahead of our competitors in the championship, so extended the championship lead. So we're looking forward to going to Le Mans. A large portion of the crew's heading over there here shortly. And all in all, a good weekend. We hope to extend the win streak to 5, but weren't able to pull it off. But had a good shot at it. And my racing weekend's not over because I get to help out the IndyCar team with the 12 car with Will Power tomorrow and start 9th there, I think. And hope for a similarly good race because it was a good race that IMSA put on today.
Yeah, we were definitely upset, disappointed with, seeing that pass that happened on Nasser. That was just brutal. As far as Le Mans, the IMSA team works the 4, right?
Yeah, it's mostly IMSA crew. This year we probably have five people from the WC team that are helping out. And like we've said before, we built the car in Germany this year, which is the first. Most of the time it's been built in the U.S. and flown over. So we had some people working around the spa on the Imola race weekends that were helping put the car together. But those 2 cars will roll out Monday and Tuesday this week and then head to France.
Hopefully the IMSA luck prevails over the WEC luck at Le Mans.
Yeah, we were just talking. It would have been nice to have gone in there winning all 5 IMSA races into Le Mans, but we're focused on that race now, and we're going to put on a good show.
Absolutely, and we hope to see you guys pull that off because that's what we absolutely want.
We're going to try.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us.
Yep. Thanks, Nicole.
What was cool about the interview is, he also was doing strategy for Will Power since, Will Power's strategist got fired. It's in the notes, so it's not drinking game. But it is unrelated to the IMSA race, other than the fact that my Kevin merch all showed up while I was at the IMSA race. Obviously, see, I got the sweatshirt and the hat.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, this is an episode where if you aren't watching the video, you need to watch the video.
Yes, you do need to watch the video so that you can
video
see
heavy episode.
All of my. Oh, hey, I found my pit and paddock pass. Yes, I got a bunch of Kevin merch. During the intro, you saw the back of the Champion 2024 shirt.
At least it's right on the front.
It is right on the front. But it, in fact, on the back, it does say Formula One champion. So I don't know. Is Kevin Max or is Max Kevin, or are they both Franz Hermann?
Unclear.
Because
I'm gonna need a Venn diagram.
Yeah. You know how we have like the family tree? We're gonna need like a different version, kind of like that, but for this.
I think that they may both be Franz Hermann. That's what I'm going with here. In fact, it would make sense. Kevin's pretty handy around the Nürburgring.
We'll have to figure this out. Somebody start making a Venn diagram, please, and send it to us.
Yes. So then I got some other items. Got my hat. Got the aforementioned pink pig shirt.
Wow, such a shocker.
Oh yes, are we shocked that
looks great, though.
I'm probably wearing this to Coda just because all three of them in fact are on the WEC team.
Yeah.
That will probably be something I wear one of the days at Coda.
Everyone acts surprised.
And then I got this nifty helmets thing because Kevin has some pretty awesome helmets. So yeah, I got lots of Kevin merch. Stickers. I have stickers.
Yes.
Yeah, this really, you do actually need to be watching this.
I was gonna say,
video episode.
You gotta be watching the video episode, y'all, because if you aren't watching the video episode, you're losing a huge chunk of content.
Miss out
Indeed,
on all of my merch tour. I did, in fact, warn Kevin Estra's account, maybe him, I don't know, about the misprint on the shirt. I'm not, like, breaking news about the fact that the shirt has a misprint on the podcast. So, hopefully I get a second shirt that is correct, but I am bringing that one to Coda to get signed, because I totally want him signing next to the thing that says F1 World Champion.
Yeah, yeah.
And then at some point, I mean, if it were me, and if I got home one day really tipsy and I stumbled upon that shirt and saw his little autograph next to the Formula One thing, I would be thinking, in what kind of alternate timeline am I living in right now?
Right?
Yeah.
I'm actually okay with the alternate timeline wherein Kevin Estra is a Formula One world champion, because then maybe he would get the respect that he deserves as a driver, because
in
he's
my
probably
head,
one of the, like, most underappreciated drivers, like, out there.
In my head, in this alternate timeline, it's Kevin is the Formula One driver, Max Verstappen is the WEC driver.
I think Max might like that alternate timeline too, actually.
Yeah.
Like, since he seems to want to quit Formula One and just go drive the Nürburgring. Like...
Yeah, so in my head, that's the alternate timeline, is they've just switched places.
One thing I can say, though, one thing that did not earn any respect from anybody on Sunday afternoon was the people behind the IMSA stream, because it kept on freezing.
You mean
and
Saturday?
crashing. Yeah.
Whichever day the IMSA race was.
Saturday. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
I saw everybody complaining about that in the WEC chat, and I'm like, I don't know, I can see the cars just fine. Vroom, vroom, vroom.
Yeah, you did.
It's like, I cannot relate.
You did flaunt your presence there by sending a couple of videos. I think everybody was a bit envious.
Yes.
Yes.
I was.
I don't know.
I was there.
The Peacock stream didn't have, like, a ton of issues. It had, like, some, but I feel like y'all's issues seem to be, like, more.
Which I feel like the international streams are always having, like, there's an issue with that with IndyCar as well.
Yeah.
Like, massive issues.
At some point, we sometimes we would lose audio, sometimes we would lose video, sometimes the screen would, like, freeze in the middle of the shot. Like, I got so frustrated because on a couple of occasions when the commentators, like, got really agitated, and then the screen just froze, and I was like, seriously?
See, like, I had the losing the, like, audio aspect, like, a couple of times throughout it, so, like, maybe that was just, like, universal.
I didn't have that. The cars went through. We get it.
You were there.
Wow,
you heard the cars go vroom, vroom.
No, I will say, I couldn't really hear commentary because the cars were loud.
Yeah, it was like that at Petit, when literally the only commentary we heard for the entire race was about
Ranger passing Tandy.
And that was all of the commentary we got.
That was the only bit of commentary we got.
Yeah. I think we got that, and we got commentary when Connor made a pass. Like, Zelish made a pass. And that was the only commentary we heard.
That was all. And then the IndyCar part of the weekend was also pretty cool. I got to go see the CGR garage, which was really cool. Like got to go see Kiffin's car up close. That was pretty awesome. I accomplished my goal of making Dana meet Brian Herta, and she was like a lot more agreeable to the idea than I expected her to be. I thought she was going to
Growth.
be like, no, I'm not going over there. But he was like, so I teed it up with like, Brian, I don't know if you remember at Petite, I had you record a video for my friend who is like your biggest fan, Dana. And he's like, I should remember this, but I don't. And he's like, I'm assuming that's Dana. And I'm like, that is Dana. And he's like, hi, Dana. Like, and Dana's over there like, but she had her hat from her like Sirius XM hat from, or XM radio, I think, hat from when he was with Andretti as a driver. And she got him to sign it, and he was like, well, do you want me to write to Dana? Do you want me to just sign it? And she's like, whatever you want to do. So he like writes a whole like short story on her hat. It was like, to Dana, it's great to finally meet you. And then signs it. My dad, when I was growing up, like, he never really got autographs or got pictures with drivers. And he always said, like, he got a lot of joy out of just seeing me meet drivers and the joy that I got out of it. And I didn't ever understand that until, like, this year. With, like, I have made 3 of my friends meet people that they were, like, afraid to go meet on their own, kind of. Made Caroline meet Pato at the 500, made Dana meet Brian here at Detroit, and made Morgan meet Earl at Detroit. And like, I understand it now, like just the joy of seeing somebody else meet their favorite driver, and knowing that you like were there for that. So that was just a really cool experience. And then, I mean, I actually didn't spend a ton of time like paying attention to the IndyCar part of the paddock because I had just met everybody the week before at the 500.
Yeah.
I like was paying more attention to like talking to the IMSA guys at various tents and stuff. But one thing that I did do was go to Kiffin's pit for part of the race. So me and Dana both had these things, pit passes. So we, like, after the final round of pit stops, but like before the red flag, we went down into the pits, and like from Kiffin's pit you could see across the way to Colton's pit. So she's like, let's just stand here so like we can be by Kiffin's pit, but I can see Colton's pit. And I'm like, okay, cool, awesome. Like, I was gonna stand by Kiffin's pit anyways. And then we're standing there, and Dana like elbows me, and she's like, is that Tom? And I'm like, Tom who? And she's like, over there at Fro's pit box. Is that Tom? And I look over and I'm like, the heck is Tom Blomqvist doing?
Yes.
In the MSR pits.
And then I got a text just with a photo of Tom in the MSR pit of, look who's in the MSR IndyCar pit. And I zoomed in and I was like, Tom Blomqvist?
Yeah. And he stayed there the whole, like, even after Fro DNF'd, he stayed there the whole race and watched the race from there. So I guess any ideas that he is not in cool still with the IndyCar team is like very false.
Or what happened between them has finally just been like resolved.
Yeah.
I feel like now that you're MSR with the IMSA team,
right,
and Fro was your like Daytona teammate probably
Mhm.
helped mend some
Yeah.
holes.
And he had been tweeting a little bit about him, and Colin had been tweeting about Fro like
Yeah.
all week, so it wasn't
Yes.
surprising. But when I was in Kiffin's little pit area, I had my Not Josh button from St. Pete still on my backpack, and one of Kiffin's pit crew guys came over and he's like, I see you have a Not Josh button. What does that mean? And I'm like, well, Josh, y'all's like digital content guy. Dana here likes to joke that we're the same person because we tweet the same things all the time. And the guy was like, oh, good, because I'm Josh, and I thought that this was like something about me. And I'm like, no, bro. It's a stupid inside joke among like 5 people, and it is not about you. Don't worry. And he's like, okay, cool. And then he went back to like the pit stand. But yeah, it was a really, really cool experience to see like a driver that I think nobody had any expectations for, and people like to, talk crap on for just being there because of his money, get his first top 5 in IndyCar.
That was great.
It was a really, really awesome experience. Like, it was an awesome experience just to be at the race, but to be there and like be getting high fives from his pit crew after he crossed the line was like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I've said this after every race this year. I don't know that anything's gonna top that. Like,
Yeah.
that was just so amazing. And then I ran into his parents, obviously, there, and his dad was like, I like your jersey, because I had on the hoodie. And I was like, oh yeah, I got it from Sarah at the 500. I guess like she had gotten it from you. And he's like, yeah, I wanted to make sure fans had that. Like, yeah, that's me. I'm like a big fan. I've been supporting him for like 2 years now. And he's like, yeah, I think I remember you from the IMSA race last year.
Which like is terrifying because
Why does Kiffin's dad? No, Kiffin's dad was on the golf cart with him.
But I
Like,
don't
remember
remember
that.
him there.
I remember him being there, but like for him to remember me, which it's been pointed out to me that I'm a very recognizable
Yes.
person, but like I don't need quite so many people remembering me. I mean, I guess this is what I get for going to like
a lot of
what am I doing?
races.
4 IndyCar and 3 IMSA races this year. Like, that's kind of what I get for doing that.
You brought it on yourself. Like.
Yeah, I did. But that was still crazy. But yeah, I like didn't even watch the podium because I was there just living in the experience of being in Kiffin's pit, because like got to see him get out of the car, hug and high five everybody, get a handshake from Chip. Like, that was just all real awesome. And it was funny because Josh was there filming stuff, and like he's getting
The
better
actual
version,
Josh of
real
not
Josh.
Josh,
Right.
not the
Yes.
other Josh.
Yes.
We need
Content
to clarify.
Josh. Content Josh, not Pit Josh.
Yes.
Content Josh was there getting content, and I'm like, there with my phone also taking pictures, and I was like, Josh, this is why Dana thinks we're the same person. Look, we're taking the same thing, but you're doing it better than me. And that was fun. But yes, that whole race was just quite something.
Yeah. I mean, watching it, like, obviously we didn't get, like, the experience of all the stuff that you did, but even just, like, watching, like, this weekend, like, there was so much chaotic stuff that happened. Obviously, like, Fro and Foster's crash was crazy. I don't think anyone saw that coming.
Just a full front
was
suspension
Suspension
failure.
failure.
That was completely unexpected, honestly.
Yeah, completely unexpected. Luckily, both of them are okay. But, like,
Mm-hmm.
nobody saw that coming. The whole chaos between Will Power and Kirkwood, or should I say, Will Plower. But,
Yeah.
That was a
like,
funny tweet.
yeah, it was a funny tweet. But that whole thing, like, was chaotic. So there was just, like, even, like, just for people watching it at home, like, chaos.
I think that was a very, like, if you're a Formula One fan that watched the 500 because you saw the advertising and then you were like, oh, okay, there's a race next, like, the next weekend, I'll watch that, after Spain is over. That was a somewhat Formula One style race. I think it would be a good one for people to watch. Like, there was good strategy, there was good passing. Like, it wasn't the chaos that I think we expect out of the streets of Detroit.
Yes.
Exactly. That was what I was thinking as well. Like, after last year, I feel like everybody was expecting, I don't know, half the race to be under yellow. Every little restart, there would be some sort of contact, and then we would be getting like no racing. I was forced to eat a lot of words ahead about the Detroit circuit this weekend because the racing was surprisingly good.
Yes,
Yeah.
Give me more of
it
that.
was.
Yes.
Also, yes, apparently everybody who has been saying Alex Palou is not a human being because he's too perfect. Apparently, yep, he sometimes makes mistakes or sometimes is forced into the wall by other people, like happened this weekend.
Also, like, that's a common thing, is like the 500 winner and the race right after the 500 typically doesn't
DNFs
do
or
good.
does really poorly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was literally a talking point on the broadcast. Like, they showed a graphic of like everyone's bad finishes after winning the 500. So, like,
I remember that one.
wasn't surprised that it
Yeah.
happened, to be honest.
I just don't
It
think
was
anybody
crazy.
expected. I just don't think anybody expected a DNF from this guy.
Yeah. Right. Like, I was expecting his bad result to be like around where Kyffin finished.
Yeah. Like, I was still expecting like a top 10 finish from him.
Yeah.
Not a win, like, not a podium, but like top 10 at least. Not a DNF, but
I mean, it was a forced DNF. It's not like it was an unforced error. He was crashed out of the race.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, maybe that just shows that luck isn't 100% on his side, because it does feel like he's been incredibly lucky this season. So, like, this is kind of his first turn of bad luck. But,
well, you can only have so much luck before you get a little bit of bad luck.
Right. But we still have only had 2 winners this season because Kyle Kirkwood won again. So
that's crazy.
What
when you realize
the record for fewest number of winners in a season?
I don't know, because surprisingly, I feel like nobody has like brought that up as like a talking point.
Because no one wants to jinx anything?
Yeah, because nobody wants to jinx anything, but like nobody's brought it up.
I want to know.
Yeah, but I want to know
the answer.
So
tell us.
Yeah.
At Orange Flag Pod on the socials. Let us know.
It's crazy to me that we're going on about this only 2 different winners in the season, and this is what, round 6, 7, and we're talking about IndyCar.
Yeah.
Indeed we are.
Thus concludes my Detroit recap.
This kind of, there's still IndyCar aspects to it, but a major talking point recently after the Coca-Cola 600 was the increase in viewership numbers for the series for the 600. And it was pretty decent. For the race, they had 1.148 million people that tuned in to watch the race, which was an 56% increase compared to last year's race. So a huge jump in numbers. It's the first time in 9 years that the first 13 races have had over 1 million viewers for NASCAR. And it peaked at 9.8 viewers, which is insane numbers for NASCAR to reach, especially with they're estimating around 800,000 of those were people between the ages of 18 to 49, which is the demographic they've been trying across that board to increase viewership among. So it's been working out for them. And a lot of people think it does have to do with Prime and just how good the broadcast was, because a lot of people stayed to watch the after race broadcast.
And then in IndyCar, obviously there's typically a blackout in the Indianapolis market if the race doesn't sell out. The race sold out for the Indy 500, so there was not a blackout. Not going to get into how market share works for TV broadcast, but the second biggest market was a 6.7. Just think about that number, 6.7. The biggest market, Indianapolis, was 22.4. Like, I get that they want locals going to the track, but that is an insane market share for viewership for the Indy 500 locally. Like, between all the locals that were at the track and all of the locals that were watching, I mean, that was probably like half the people in Indianapolis were watching the Indy 500 in some way, shape, or form. So that was pretty cool. And then I know that the top growth markets, there was a bunch of them were in the Northeast, which is an area that historically has not been great for motor racing audiences. So that is good to see. So maybe all of these ads that they've been doing for the 500 worked. We'll wait and see what the numbers are like for the next few races, what they were like for Detroit, what they're going to be like for Gateway, and what they'll be like for Road America.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if, like, we still see those markets being big markers, or if it is just a 500. And I wouldn't be surprised if it is maybe just a 500 Detroit, and then see after Detroit how the numbers fare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I was at the 500, so I don't know what the advertising during the 500 was like for Detroit. So I don't know whether the average 500 viewer was even aware there was a race the following weekend.
They didn't really, like, talk about it much, but I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if people just from, like, online, like, looking up to see what time
right,
the
but I'm talking like
started.
The person that only watches the Indy 500, were they from the broadcast and from the advertising aware there was a race the next weekend?
Yeah, I would think no, there was very little, like, talk about it.
That's an issue.
Yeah. So, like, for me, though, I still wouldn't be surprised if, like, there's a slight, like, more peak from Detroit, just from, like, the people that used the internet to, like, figure things out, that probably got some Detroit, like, content from that aspect, and then a fallout after that. Well, so I feel like everyone by now knows that George Russell, Max Verstappen, had contact in the F1 race. If you haven't seen it, don't know how, because I feel like it's been everywhere, but George was asked about if anybody else in the grid would make the move Max made, and George basically said, not in F1, maybe in Formula E, maybe one British driver in Formula E. We all knew he was talking about Dan Ticktum. It was very obvious for anyone to know that was who he was alluding to.
I don't know that it was obvious for us as people who watch Formula E. I doubt my dad knew who he was talking about. So Dan Ticktum's a Formula E driver who was known for being wildly aggressive in Formula Feeder Series.
Yes.
Like,
I mean, for like our listeners from Twitter, like it was
right.
the link was made very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think
That one.
George did a very good job for people who only watch Formula One. Like, they may not, like, people who didn't watch Formula Feeder Series several years ago, don't watch Formula E, they might not have known who he was talking about. So I do think it was actually a pretty artfully done statement where if you know, you know, but if you don't, it's like, oh, he's just dunking on FE in general. Like, you don't know which of the British drivers he's talking about. You just know he's dunking on an FE driver.
Yeah, but if you're somebody on Twitter, like you probably knew who he was talking about. And so Dan Ticktum apparently just on Twitter kept getting sent this interview that George did about him, and so he filmed a video of him in the dark, and his response, to which he basically said, number one, thank you for the free publicity. We'll take that any day of the week. And two, while what Max did today was a little bit skeptical, to be likened to him at any point in my career is a positive, if you ask me. Which, I mean,
yeah,
very Dan Ticktum response.
Yes.
If you know Dan Ticktum, that shouldn't surprise you.
Not at all.
But he does make a good point. Like, to be compared to Max Verstappen, like, that's
Right.
in any way, like, that's kind of a compliment, even if it's about, like, crashing.
Yeah.
It's Max Verstappen. Like, you're gonna accept that. And also, kind of alluding to what you said about, like, not people who don't follow Formula E and didn't follow, like, regionals who don't know who Dan Ticktum are, like, might see this for the first time as their introduction to Formula E and Dan Ticktum, so he did get publicity out of it.
Yeah, it was a very, very, very Ticktum sort of getting on about it. Well, I guess I would take the comparison to Max, even if it was for the wrong reason.
Yeah. I think anyone would take being compared to Max Verstappen, like...
Probably.
And then the other thing that caught some people's attention, pretty much everyone was going on about this before the race started, was what was going on in the Aston Martin team in F1, because Lance Stroll was not essentially pulled from the race. He was withdrawn from the race owing to injuries to his wrist. And that was like a ripple effect from all the way back in before the 2023 season even started, when he had an operation for an injury. And, well, apparently he had been in pain for the past, 6 weeks? Or 6... Was it 6 weeks or 6 races? I think it was 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was somehow soldiering through all these race weekends, and, well, until apparently he got to a point where it was unbearable for him. But yeah, unfortunately for someone else, Felipe Drugovich, I am sort of not so bright about him. He was unable to take part in the race because Stroll was withdrawn after qualifying, so he couldn't take part in the Spanish Grand Prix. But now there's talk about him potentially taking Stroll's place for Canada. But that would mean withdrawing from Le Mans.
Right, because he's as of right now scheduled to be in the 311 Wheeling Cadillac for Le Mans.
Yes.
I think it's absolutely crazy to give up a race seat at Le Mans to do an F1 race, but Drugovich has given up Formula E offer, a Ganassi seat offer in IndyCar, and multiple full-time WEC and IMSA offers.
Yes.
To be the reserve driver for Aston Martin.
Oh.
So
He's
it's
made
not shocking to me that he's going to pick Canada over Le Mans if given the choice.
He's made it very clear, like, he doesn't want to do endurance racing and is literally basically just doing it because he has nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I don't know who Cadillac is gonna pull. Like, who isn't already doing something at Le Mans that they can pull, like, that has driven the car before? Because, like, I think everyone's saying Pipo Derani, but Pipo Derani has a Genesis contract. I don't think
Yeah.
Genesis are going to let him drive the Cadillac at Le Mans. But
Yeah.
then again, I will say, like, Toyota let their boys drive the Cadillac at Daytona. So maybe Genesis will let him drive the Cadillac at Le Mans. The amount of data that you can get by driving a competitor car might be in their better interest. So we may see Pipo Derani in the car.
It wouldn't, like, I wouldn't count it out. Like,
I don't know what other options they have, you know?
I don't know what other options you
Palou
have.
and Dixon are already going to be at Gateway. They're not. Alex Palou could skip Gateway to go do Le Mans and not have it impact his championship.
Yes.
That would be amazing, actually. But then you've got, like, so, like, the other people. So Bamber and Lynn are already in other Cadillacs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bourdais already in another Cadillac.
Yeah.
Ranger is doing LMP2. Like, I guess you could try and steal him from United, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
My only thing was thinking opposite end. You take Nick Yellowly out of his LMP2. You throw him into the Aston. And then Drugovich stays.
So that's what I was actually thinking, was like, would Yellowly skip LMP2 Le Mans to, which I think that's an easier, because you're not going for potentially the overall. Like, yeah, class win's cool, but, like, Drugovich is giving up the opportunity for an overall win at Le Mans, because let's be real, you can never count any car out at Le Mans. You do not know what's going to happen. So giving up the opportunity for an overall win at Le Mans to go do the Canadian Grand Prix is a little bit crazy to me.
Yeah.
I would say
I'd say extremely silly, and that's coming from the Canadian. So I think I can ditch on my little silly countries race and say Le Mans is way more important.
Well, and I can dunk on my fellow countrymen.
But yeah, that was just, like, my thought. Another one I've been seeing people say, just, like, as kind of a joke, and I've liked the joke, is Fred's, like, really good friend that he lived with for a long time, Ollie Caldwell, doesn't have an LMP2 seat, so everybody's been, like, a bunch of people I know who are, like, fans of both of them have been joking, they've been like, throw Ollie in so that we have the, like, former teammates in it. I'm like, Ollie's never driven a Cadillac before, so no.
It's got to be, I think, someone who has at least driven an LMDH, but preferably driven the Cadillac before. So you're very, very limited with who those people are, and you're kind of limited down to trying to get Genesis to allow Derani to drive that car. And I think that's what we'll end up seeing happen.
Because I feel like, let's be honest, everyone else is either already in a caddy, as we said, or doing LMP2. Pipo is the only one who is not in the entry list.
Right.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, it's weird that he's not in the entry list.
Yeah. And I was like, where is he?
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what develops with that, because I fully expect Drugovich to be doing Canada.
Yes. Or, apparently Kevin Estre really wants to be a Formula One world champion, so he can miss Le Mans and go drive for Aston.
Do you know how happy I would be? I would go to Canada if Fernando Alonso and Kevin Estra were on Aston Martin together. Like, that is not on my... That would be the most me-coded thing in the world. Like,
it would be.
I would be booking tickets to Canada 5 seconds after that was announced.
The motherland. I will say I am very sad for Lance because it's very likely that he's not racing in Canada. I think we all know that. And that's his home race. Like, I do feel bad for him that he's going to be missing his home race.
And it's not just like his home race and that it's in Canada. He is from Montreal.
Yeah,
So
like,
it's
it is
like
his home race.
Very
Indeed.
much his home race.
Yeah. Like, he takes the team to, like, his favorite local restaurants and everything. Like,
Yeah.
it is very heavily his home race, and he always, like, makes a big deal about it, like, within the team. So, unfortunate that he's not probably racing his home race.
Yeah, and like kind of piggybacking off that. I hope you heal up and get better soon, Lance,
Yeah.
because that's, I mean, for an injury from over 2 years ago to still be causing an issue and causing an issue to this extent is, you know, upsetting to see, you know, somebody that's been struggling through that for 2 years. So we hope he gets better.
Yeah, I think we all can agree that we hope he gets better. So,
Thanks for listening. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram at Orange Flag Pod. On Twitter, Nicole is at Cars on the Street, Austin is at Hendrik Laren, and Aries is at Aries_Alpenblue. Stay orange.